Hello, welcome to Claire's Food Haven, Mum's Mondays. Today we're going to make minestrone soup. There isn't really a set recipe for minestrone soup. You can very much use what you have handy in your store cupboard and in your fridge. We are going to use these ingredients. Some ham stock, which is left over from the ham that we did for Christmas and has been frozen this week. A leek, some cabbage, some fresh basil and some fresh bay leaves, an onion, some carrots, a few little tomatoes that are all that's left of our homegrown tomatoes this year, some macaroni. This is in a packet that says it's called gramigna, which presumably is Italian for macaroni, not sure. A tin of haricot beans, a tin of tomatoes, chopped tomatoes, a red pepper, a courgette, some tomato puree, and that's probably going to be it. Oh, some oil for cooking the vegetables when we get there. So, first of all, I'm going to start by chopping the onion. That's the onion chopped quite fine. Next, the celery. I've already trimmed the ends off the celery. It wasn't the freshest, but that's the good thing about minestrone soup. You can use up what you've got. That's the celery chopped quite fine. I'll take the top and bottom off the carrots. As you can see, they're not the newest carrots, but again, that's the beauty of this soup. And I'm going to cut them quite fine. About the same size as the celery and onion. That's the carrots chopped quite finely. And now the leek. Sometimes a problem with leeks is that you find, although they look clean on the outside, I've taken the top and bottom off this already, it looks quite clean, but when you get into it, you'll find that there's some soil further in. The way that the leek grows, it can trap a bit of soil inside. So what I do is I cut into the leek like this, and then I take it, I have a good look, This is a pretty good one actually. It doesn't look soily, but I wash it at this point while it's kind of opened out. To make sure that I get the soil out from the inside. So I'll just wash it now. Right, and that's the leek washed. And it smells great. It smells really, really leaky. So that's the leeks, chopped reasonably fine. Now the pepper. That's the pepper. Chopped quite fine. Now the courgette. Right, sorry about that. That's the courgette. And now the cabbage. As you can probably see, this is not the freshest cabbage. But that doesn't really matter for this recipe. We don't need a lot. Some recipes suggest that you put lettuce in and other kind of greens or spinach for a bit of colour towards the end. But this cabbage was all we had. And that's the cabbage ready. And now I'll just get the tomatoes ready. I'll give them a rinse first. Taking the ends off if they have ends and cutting them in half. Some of them are a bit wrinkly. It doesn't matter for this soup. And that's the tomatoes ready. So that's all the vegetables chopped up, and everything else will happen on the stove. So we'll go over to the stove now. So we're over at the stove and I'm just making up a pint of chicken stock because I don't think we'll have nearly enough of the ham stock for this big soup pot. And even these two lots of stock might not be enough, but we can always add to it later on. So first some olive oil into the pan. It's not extra virgin olive oil, by the way, it's just ordinary olive oil, which cooks better. And when that warms up, I'm going to add the onions. That's the onions in. We'll leave them to sweat a bit. Now I'm going to add the celery. I'm trying to cook the vegetables in the order that they take to cook. Like the onions will take the longest. I think the celery will be next. Maybe it should have been the carrot next. But anyway, I'm starting with the longest cooking. I'll be putting the carrot in next. Now it's time to add the carrot. Give it a stir. I'm going to leave these carrots for another 2 or 3 minutes before I add the leeks. Starting to smell good now. It's a very cold day today. It's freezing outside, so it's a really good day to be having a pot of soup. Leeks smell amazing. I'm a big fan of leeks, but maybe that's because I'm half Welsh. Oh, that smells great. I wish we had smelly vision. So now I'm going to put the cabbage in. I'll give that a minute or so and then I'm going to add the tomatoes. Now the baby tomatoes are going in. And now the peppers are going in. So now I'm going to put the tinned tomatoes in. And you might notice I haven't put the courgette in yet. And that's because they're going in nearer the end when we put in the pasta. And the reason for doing that, we don't want them to go too mushy. They don't take us long to cook. And the same applies to the haricot beans. So we'll add those in later on when we're more than halfway through the cooking time. So now the tinned tomatoes. And a squeeze of tomato puree. And next, our homemade ham stock. It's a good thick stock. And it's almost covering the vegetables, but not quite. So I think we really do need that chicken stock as well. I think I put it all in. Give that a stir. I'm going to put the lid on for 5 minutes or so, and then I'm going to season it. I don't know how salty that ham stock will have been, so I'm not going to put any salt in yet. and then we've got these lovely herbs to go in. So we'll get it all up to the boil first. So the soup's had 5 minutes to come up to the boil. Everything's up to temperature now, and I'm going to taste it at this point, mainly for saltiness of the stock. It doesn't taste salty to me. Alan.
Doesn't need salt.
It doesn't need salt.
No.
Doesn't need any more salt. So now I'm going to add some black pepper. Some dried herbs. Oregano. And thyme. If you've got herbs in your garden, you might be tempted to use those, but actually the fresh herbs don't really have much flavour at this time of year. Yeah, so you're better off with the dried herbs, with the exception of the bay leaves that we're going to put in, and the fresh basil, which we've got from the supermarket. We can't grow that at this time of year. So we've got 2 bay leaves going in, and we'll have to remember to take those out at the end. And I'll put the fresh basil in later because that doesn't need to cook along. And I'm going to check the soup after another 15 minutes to see how these vegetables are getting on. Hopefully the vegetables will be softening by then. So the soup's had about another 15 minutes cooking, and I'm just going to test to see how soft the vegetables are. I fished out a bit of carrot, which is the hardest thing in there. We've still got a tiny bit of bite, but it's edible at that. So now we'll add the other vegetables. I'm going to add the haricot beans. And I'm going to put the whole lot in, including the liquid. And the courgette. And now I'm going to add the pasta. At this point, if you wished to separate out the soup that you're going to eat today into a different pan and just add pasta to that bit, and don't add any pasta to the soup that you're going to freeze, so that when you thaw your soup it hasn't got mushy pasta in it, and you can put fresh pasta in each time you warm the soup up. But I'm not going to do it that way today. I'm going to put about half of this amount, probably about 100 grams of macaroni into this soup at this point. and give it a stir. And then the last thing to add is the fresh basil, which I've washed earlier. I'm just going to tear in. And now we just need to cook it again for 10 minutes or so until the courgettes and the pasta cooks. So the minestrone soup's had another 15 minutes, and I'm going to fish out a bit of pasta just to check that it's cooked. There's a bit of macaroni. Yep, that's cooked perfectly. So I'm going to turn it off now. Now I need to fish out the bay leaves. And one. Oh, there it is. I see it now. That's the other bay leaf. Great. So it's far too hot to eat, but I'm still going to put some out so that you can see it. That's the minestrone soup, and it's best served with parmesan. I just grated this parmesan. That's the minestrone soup. Still too hot. That is great. Really lovely. Thank you for watching. And if you liked the video, please subscribe to Claire's Food Haven. And we really appreciate all your subscriptions and all your comments. Thank you.